Jillian, thanks for agreeing to speak with CEDA again about the important topic of renewable energy. You spoke to CEDA in 2012 about renewable energy financing. That was not long after the establishment of the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. When the CEFC was established, a number of barriers to investment in the renewable sector were flagged. Are those the barriers that you think still exist today?
I think the barriers are still there but significantly diminished. So if I take when we started, it was very hard to get the major trading banks to extend their credit beyond 5 or 7 years. Many of the banks had downsized their renewable energy teams. There wasn't a whole lot of money around looking for a home, and certainly not looking for a home for a 17-year investment in an uncertain political environment and policy environment. When I left the CEFC, we had a transaction with one of the major trading banks that went out to 17 years. That was a huge, we were celebrating about that because we were looking at the journey we'd been on. Once that journey had been a positive experience, then you found the next bank was saying, well, that's what the sector needs, that's what we're going to do, we want to be in this sector.
And how important do you think those investments themselves have been in establishing a renewable energy sector in Australia?
Very, very important for the continuity of that renewable energy sector, because what a sector really suffers from is discontinuity of environment, uncertainty, and at that stage there was a debate about not only abolishing the CEFC but abolishing the clean energy target without any appetite for recognising its importance in the long-term competitiveness of Australia.
You've spoken a bit about the impact of policy and political uncertainty. It's come through in your observations about the time that you were at the CEFC. It was raised again in the Finkel Review as something that has led to a stalling of investment in the sector. To what extent do you think that is still one of the big challenges for investing in renewable energy, and how do we get around it?
Well, it's certainly still one of the barriers because we've got very different views on both sides of Parliament about what the path forward is for the role of clean energy in Australia, which is a major exporter of carbon-emitting fuels. And there's a role for carbon-emitting fuels in the world, so I don't see them as being incompatible being an exporter. I mean, we can look at Norway. They've got 100% renewable, and they're a very big exporter of oil and gas. It's their biggest export, so the two aren't incompatible. But on the political horizon, not only have we got conflict and the major parties trying to differentiate their policies, but that's happening at the state level, which is making it even more challenging. I think as the Finkel report concluded, you should have an agreed target. Now you might say the path is going to be fast or slow, but we ought to be able to agree that there's a place we're heading for and how quickly you want to head there and what policy initiatives you want to take to get there.
So as you say, we are in the process of deliberation around the National Energy Guarantee. I think you're saying you think that's an important policy development. Are there key features or design features that you think are important to the success of that guarantee?
I don't know that I can say there's a particular feature. I thought it was quite a clever mechanism to create a tool which both parties might be able to buy into. And it has certain deficiencies in that the guarantee would tend to endorse the status quo. Any new entrant has to come through the incumbents to try to get an access to a ticket to play. But I still think it was a tool to try and get a breakthrough in the political stalemate.
In your speech in 2012, you spoke about the importance of the renewable energy sector, but you also flagged that it was a really important, growing global industry and that there was an opportunity for Australia to be a part of that. To what extent do you think we've realised that opportunity?
We're still developing the capacities domestically because we've been battling this political minefield. But there certainly are situations where Australian entities are operating outside Australia, and the engineering capacity has always been good in Australia. So it's certainly true that it is a global industry that has continued to prosper, and we are on the learning path for that. But I think that dividend of being an export industry in its own right is a bit down the track.
Have we missed the boat, or is,
Oh,
is the opportunity still there?
No, it's a very long-term path, and that's why we have to have a firm political direction on this area and giving people a chance to find their way along that path. But I think it's always going to be growing the amount. We're heading into a carbon-constrained world, and the sooner we equip our users of energy to deal with it, our generators of energy to deal with it, and the industries that it spawns around that dynamic.
Jillian Broadbent, thank you for being part of CEDA's energy conversations. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.